What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the PHNX Rising podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us here on a Thursday. A little bit of remote action for you. We got a little bit of a travel day. Got Owen will not be able to join on the pod, so we got to fill in here. Everyone say what's up to Gilly. What's going on, baby girl? Alrighty. That's okay. If you guys aren't cat people, I totally get it. That's okay. We got a little bit of this for you. Go Spurs. All right. We're trying to palate cleanse today. It's going to be a bit of a different episode, right? I know we got a lot to get through from last night's Open Cup match, kind of previewing a bit as well this Saturday against Indy 11. So we're going to have some fun with it, right? Appreciate everyone showing up in the chat, right? It's a tough way to rally after a disappointing exit to the Open Cup, but y'all are in here, and I appreciate you for that. Brett in the chat. Playing a little Marco Polo with me. I love that. Sally in the chat. Hi, Kitty. Yes, she is adorable. Got her about, we've had her like about a month now. The other one is hiding somewhere in my couch. You're not in my couch, under the couch. You won't see her. She's a little fraidy cat, but that's definitely the more social one. And let's see, Andrew in the chat. Yes, just me today. I know you guys are super excited, but no, we appreciate you guys joining us today. Let's talk Open Cup, right? You know, without a doubt, definitely. Yeah, Owen was definitely not invited to my house, Andrew. Without a doubt, no, he's not allowed. No, but let's talk Open Cup, right? I want to hear what you guys' thoughts were. I mean, obviously the result that kind of goes without saying. It was a tough performance for Phoenix Rising. I want to hear from you guys in the chat, right? I mean, it was kind of jumping in Discord, and I think it was kind of a surreal feeling when they scored, you know, at the very end of the first half with that penalty. And I kind of want to hear from you guys, right? Did you think there was a bit of life left? Do you think that, hey, like there's actually an opportunity to kind of coast this out, ride it into the second half, kind of holding on for dear life type of opportunity? Because you kind of look at the stats in the first half, and Phoenix Rising, right, they actually had advantage in a lot of those different areas. They had the advantage within the possession, 57% possession in that first half. Thank you to Statlacker Reese, of course. Right, they had almost their goal of XG, or their near goal of XG, was due to the penalty, of course, right? Only 0.11 XG. That non-penalty XG was 0.11. They had 6 total shots. 2 of them were on target, but they did create 3 chances. That's the thing. I think that this has kind of been a microcosm of how this season has kind of gone, of just there's some times where the final third could be a little bit sharper, and that's just going to be a theme kind of throughout the season. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing Fat Kid in the chat, strong start, but they started defending too early. And I think that's kind of what you see from these, you know, sort of games where you are going up against opposition who, even if they're not facing their strongest 11, you had guys who, listen, Seattle Sounders, they were rolling out some guys who they have featured in World Cups before. Like, they're on World Cup rosters. Like, these are a very strong team that they put out there in terms of like who they could have put out there. So by no means was that their strongest starting 11. No, but they did not just run out the kids, right? It wasn't just a complete set of, you know, who are these guys playing. So, right. I see Brett in the chat, some decent chances, but Seattle was much more aggressive in the second half. And really, that's kind of what it was, that even though Phoenix Rising won the possession in the first half, they lost the field tilt. And it kind of just all kind of came to a head in the second half. Rising held out for as long as they could, but they ended up losing the possession battle within that one. I mean, if we're talking XG, they had 0.07 XG in the second half. 2 shots, neither on targets, 1 chance created. The field tilt was even lower. They had less than a quarter of the field tilt. So really, when they were having the ball, it wasn't even in those dangerous areas. And it kind of shows this is what happens when you go up against a Seattle team where they had triple the amount of shots as Phoenix Rising did. They had quadruple the number of chances created. They dominated field tilt. They dominated shots on target. Like, this is the beauty of the Open Cup, is you really can win games in those really scrappy, really gross 1-0 matches. It's not the most unheard of thing of like Rising didn't have to be the better team in these knockout competitions. That's the thing. Over the course of the season, this is very different how Rising would kind of showcase how they're going to play within the USL, right? You have to be the better team more often than not in order to, make it through a long season, be able to rack up those points and everything like that. But over these knockout competitions, you absolutely can be the worst team and yet still escape with a result. Rising had a chance to do it. It just kind of faltered through within the second half. I mean, this is what happens when you're put under relentless pressure. And for as good as the defense that Rising has, and they put out a strong starting 11, you kind of just saw that, listen, the unfortunate handball by John Stenberg, boom, penalty converted. And just, you're kind of watching. You're watching the 89th minute, and you're just, here we go, dancing in the box, puts in the back of the net. It's just a tough one, man. It's a really tough way to go. And yeah, that's how this team is. Let's see, seeing Brett in the chat. Yep, still wondering why Pat is suddenly on the outside looking in. And man, it's a great question, right? Because I don't think he's played poorly at really any part of this season. Yes, again, maybe there are the other center backs within the squad, and they definitely offer a little bit more from a kind of passing standpoint, from that build out standpoint, and being able to kind of do that. But hey, I think that's just kind of what they're looking like going for. And I think there's a way for him to feature, but it's definitely not one where, I don't think he's necessarily out of the team completely or anything like that, but it will be curious to see how he works back in. Back in the chat, Save Us when he started the show by putting up a Spurs scarf. I don't know if that happened. I don't know if that happened. Andrew, that's a great question. Does goalkeeper get some blame in your opinion? It's not like Seattle was threatening much when their shot selection wasn't that strong. Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, I guess it's right. It's always one of those questions. If you saw the starting 11 that Phoenix Rising put out, it was relatively strong for, I would say, most of the guys would be in consideration for most starting 11s. Of course, Andrew Rakowski is kind of the odd guy in that situation. I mean, look, I get it. You're going to want to bring in guys for, those off competitions, but I think that's just it. Is if Phoenix Rising wanted to, even further showcase, hey, this is a competition that we really value, that we really want to win, I think you're putting out Rocco. And that's not a slide on Andrew, Rakowski. It's just, that's just kind of where he is, right? Like, that's just kind of knowing that Rocco is that goalkeeper who he's your number one. He has experience within those PK shootouts, and like, that's the guy you want backing you. So it's kind of tough not to seeing him in there. I think you could make some blame of it, but it's also like, at the end of the day, again, even if Rocco was in there, it's hard to say, hey, shoulda, coulda, woulda, if you would have been able to stop those. Again, I think this is just kind of what you get with that relentless pressure that kind of got built up, when you're playing this team who's in the MLS, who has experience going deep within knockout competition, reference the CONCACAF Champions League a couple years back, but all of that stuff. And yes, Owen in the chat just got Chicago ahead of the Indy trip, and I'm sat on L train, cannot assist. Fortunately, well, buddy, we'll catch you on Saturday. But we do want to hear from someone else. Let's hear what the coach Danny Stone had on his reflections of this match.
I'm incredibly disappointed for the team, honestly. I thought it was a good game, and I thought we, in general, played well in the game. And I thought for much of the first half were very good, and obviously earned ourselves a goal and a lead at half time. We knew coming out second half that they obviously had to push the game, and they had to to try to generate some more attacking thrust in the game, which they did. And I felt, honestly, for long spells we coped with that. I thought there was a spell of 15-20 minutes in the second half where we got to grips with the game in possession again and played some very good stuff. And we've had a couple of moments in the second half, I think, where we might have got that second opportunity, maybe that second goal. But I'm honestly gutted for the players, if I'm honest with you, because I felt in general the display was a very, very spirited one. It was a very high level one in many ways. And listen, I haven't seen the penalty decision back against us. I'll have to reserve comment on that one. But I felt, of course we're going to have to see out some spells of pressure in that game. Particularly against a very good team who are 1-0 down in a game, and they have to come at us. And we knew we were going to have to defend the box. We knew we were going to put in some of the grit and the grind in that second half performance. And like I say, honestly, I'm disappointed that we weren't, at the very least, able to take that to extra time, because I felt the game was, a pretty even one, maybe over 90 minutes, in terms of how the game is played given a scoreline. So yes, I'm disappointed for the team, because I felt they were outstanding in many ways tonight, and we move on quickly now, and we regroup and we recover and we go again Saturday. But listen, we're very disappointed with that tonight, because I felt it would have been, at the very least, maybe deserved to get into extra time and see where the game went from there.
Full interview with head coach Danny Stone. You can find it 7+ minutes long. It's going to be on at PHNX _ rising on Twitter, of course. But yeah, right. I mean, I think kind of echoing what coach is saying, you kind of find within these Open Cup matchups, listen, we'll call it what it is, right? Phoenix Rising from USL Championship playing against, by and large, we're not going to glorify the MLS on this on this pod. Owen will jump through the damn chat and be damned if we do. But you kind of look at it; they are going to be the squads who, more often than not, are going to be player by player. On average, they're going to be more talented, right? There's a reason why there's separation within those levels. So when you kind of get in these knockout competitions, really, there's kind of two ways that these matches can unfold. You can have, maybe the bit more chaotic of kind of, hey, just throwing guys forward, really trying to take it to the opposition teams, knowing that you're going to have to score. You kind of take the approach of, hey, I have to score in bunches in order to keep up. You kind of saw that a couple weeks back with Detroit City outlasting Houston Dynamo in a thriller 3-3 in at the end of 90 minutes, and then going to extra time, going to PKs, right? Detroit coming back, kind of going like with that chaos frenzy with long shots, everything like that. That is one way to do it. Phoenix Rising kind of took the other route of, listen, you kind of bunker down, you do score one early, and you kind of hope that that's what you're kind of able to go, and you go into the second half of like, hey, we have a 1-0 lead going into halftime. How does that dictate things? I think I kind of saw some people even last night and even discussed a bit of like, right, does Rising take the lead too early? I don't necessarily think that's the case, because I think even if from the mentality shift, even if you feel like you have to save that goal and kind of just bunker down, realistically, Seattle was going to be throwing guys forward in the second half, no matter what, even if it was a 0-0, right? Like, they should be winning. They will want the win. They would trust themselves going forward, knowing that they'd be able to most likely defend. So, I don't really buy that of, hey, did Rising score too early? Everything like that. So yeah, we'll see. Just kind of a tough way to go out. Right. I think the thing though is Rising did take it a little bit to them in the first half. Again, not from the shots test and even from the eye test a bit, but I think just from individual moments, right? Final third absolutely needs to be better. But again, and I know some people in the chat are kind of like this, but right, you kind of see Panos Amanakis kind of shining on the big stage. He drew the penalty. He was really able to go forward within those moments, had that lovely through ball in that 10th minute for Remy Cabral. He saved by the keeper, putting it wide, like just things like that. That's how you kind of unlock this team who, again, talent for talent, player for player, going to be a little bit more elevated than, say, teams that are in the USL Championship. But listen, Rising put up a good fight. I don't think there's anything you can argue from that aspect. The fact that, you hate to lose it is not, we're not going to proclaim on here saying, oh, shucks. Like, no, you hate to lose it, but you go 2-1 to a team who scores 2 in the second half, who are technically at home. And, this is the thing where, unfortunately, like, there's a reason why MLS teams have had an edge within this competition. So, we're trying to pivot. We're going to look onward to Indy, and that's kind of what you have there. Seeing the chat, Max, did you feel name begin with an L? Because if it did, you would be MLS. I love it. Actually begins with a D. Anyone who guesses my middle, actually, yeah, that's a pretty easy one. If you guess my middle name, you'll win a prize. I don't know what that is, but I'll figure it out. Side in the chat, yes, Panos mentioned. I was alluding to you. I figured you would like that. Andrew in the chat agreed. We got a little bit too comfortable and let Seattle get back into it. Yeah, it depends on how you phrase it, right? Comfortable is one thing. Even just, you just knew the onslaught's going to happen. Like in these competitions where, again, you are incentivized to win in 90 minutes. If you are a USL squad going into deep waters, you are happy to take in extra time if you need to, going into penalties. I mean, granted, then you kind of think his depth is a question, but I mean, Rising knew they were in for it in the second half, whether they were up a goal or it was, a 0-0. So that is what it is. And you kind of go with it. And then, I think the key stat here, and this is a good one that Stylacky Reese put in there, is from 7 total corners from Phoenix Rising. Rising accumulated 1 shot. The XG, the total XG on those 7 corners, 0.012. We're talking what, 1/100th, slightly more than 1/100th of a point of XG. It's just, especially in one of those situations where you really need to capitalize, right? Set pieces are so vital, especially those knockout competitions. We saw it with the penalties. We've seen it with North Carolina. We saw it even in Rising's one of the USL matches against Detroit. Like a lot of set pieces, those are an opportunity to change things, and just not being able to threaten more. It's really tough because the set pieces are kind of at a moment where it's kind of an equalizer, being able to kind of hit against the run of play, so to speak. Seeing Fackett in the chat. Got a lot of guesses. You did get one of them right. It is David, but I also see, we got Darius, Diego, Deshaun, Declan. Goodness, there's an Arsenal reference, a Liverpool reference. There's a kind of a Man City reference in there. There's a lot going on. Reese, miss you too, buddy. Appreciate you for the stats. Brett, is the prize a pretzel? I actually did buy a pretzel at the game. Rising won. Yeah, Brett, find me at the next home game. I'll give you a pretzel. How about that? There you go. Oh, wait, no, you didn't even guess it. Sorry. Fat kid, find me next game. Find me next game. And yeah, I'll get you a pretzel. Yeah, there we go. Well, it's okay. Rising was not able to win that, but guys, you can win with our friends at Circle K. I'm going to say one thing. I'm going to say this. If you want, don't be watching. Don't be watching while doing this. But if you want to go in your car, take a little trip to your Circle K. Again, do not watch this, but keep it on the Bluetooth, keep it going. Don't join in the chat. You can save 40 cents per gallon. Again, 40 cents per gallon for the next 34 minutes at select Circle K locations. They are doing their fuel day, which they do like kind of sporadically, which is super fun. From 4 to 7 today, you could be saving up to 40 cents per gallon for your fill up, and then log in with your inner circle and save some additional moolah on top of it. Again, not advocating, do not be watching while you're doing this, but if you want to go in your car, put this in your passenger seat or whatever, boom, head on over to Circle K. That participating locations get 40 cents off per gallon for their fuel day. And of course, join their inner circle program. You can save 69 cents per gallon, 69 cents, Polar Pops. Damon, don't you say nothing. 69-cent Polar Pops if you're an Inner Circle member. And even if you're not an Inner Circle member, right, 79-cent Polar Pops. But why not save the extra 10 cents? Why not get in with everything that they have going on at Circle K? Check them out again. Download the Circle K app, opt in with the phone number, and become an Inner Circle member. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Alrighty, and of course, our friends at OG's Brands, right? Nice little palate cleanser, of course. That's kind of what we're doing today. OG's is a great palate cleanser for you for any time and any occasion. Of course, if you're 21 plus, it's a great time to enjoy, right? They got the indicas, the sativas. Owen's in Chicago kind of traveling. He could be taking an OG's. I'm not saying he is. I'm not saying he's not. We're going to let that rumor spread for a bit. So check out OG's Brands, right? They are Arizona's scratch mood. THC gummies, but they're a great freaking time, right? You can find them at your nearest dispensary when you check them out at ogsbrands.com. And of course, find them on all socials at ogsbrands.com. Again, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Everyone in the chat, you guys are awesome. Make sure to hit that like button. Again, it helps out the algorithm, the data, if you will. So now in the chat, hi, hello, 179 West, sup, let's go. Saying dip the pretzel in the beer, then in the cheese dip. That actually isn't bad. But see, here's the thing. Now Owen is saying claim a Max beer instead. That's not a thing. There's no free beers. When you're ready, there is no cheers, and you can forget because Max is not buying beers. So no beers. Pretzel. There we go. Actually, and yeah, people can be the judge for themselves about the pretzels at Phoenix Rising Stadium. But yes, we onward to Indy, everyone. Indy, they had quite a match in the Open Cup, right? To the victory, go the spoils there. So it's kind of getting interesting, right? Both of these teams had these mid-week matchups, and you're kind of trying to play of like, okay, how do you approach this? What can Rising do to get the win, to be able to solidify their position and keep on going up that USL table, right? Sans this last match, right, against Seattle, Rising's doing pretty good in the league as of recently, right? I mean, they're a team where, going back, they have that nice little unbeaten match going, right? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches unbeaten. They have not lost in the league since April 20th, since 420, right? That 1-3 loss at home against Pittsburgh River Hounds. So you're thinking, okay, Phoenix Rising, that little 5-match unbeaten streak, yeah, they're coming off a loss, but like, whatever. How good of a form is Indy? Yeah, well, that's the thing, guys. Indy is in pretty darn good form themselves. I would say they're even in better form because that's what numbers do. The numbers are numbering, the math is mathing. Indy 11, they are fourth in the table, starting the upper half of the Eastern Conference and Rising again, right? Riding that 5-match unbeaten streak. Indy is saying, hold my beer. They are riding a 8-match unbeaten streak in all competitions, including currently a 6-match winning streak. They have not drawn a match since April 20th, the same date that Rising lost. They have not lost a match since April 13th, 1 week before Rising lost their recent match. You kind of look at Indy's season so far. You even look at how they started. And here's the kind of thing, right? We kind of were looking at Indy and we're saying, okay, they kind of got off to a pretty clunky start, right? They have the 2-1 loss against Oakland Roots, which like, okay, it's away from home. It's not great, but that's how you start off your season. You get a win against Memphis, a draw against Sacramento Republic, 3 straight losses then, all to Eastern opponents. But here's the thing, is you kind of look, and that's not a great stretch, but who are those losses to? Detroit City, Louisville, Charleston Battery. 3 teams riding hot and very, very much contending. That's 1, 2, 3 in the East. All teams that are above Indy, right? So that's something very pivotal. Indy has been pretty solid. And again, you look where they are, 4th in the table. They've only really lost to teams that are above them. And, Oakland Roots, a bit of the outlier, but that's pretty darn good. That's something, right? Seeing Owen in the chat. Yes, I concur with Indy in this case. Again, it's solid. It's a team where they have some guys, they're able to get in that position. And again, you want to judge people, yes, by their wins, but even in this case, I'm going to judge them by their losses. And there's not a ton, but it's not to a lot of inferior competition. So that's a thing. They get the one bad one out of the way, Oakland Roots away to begin the season, maybe a bit of an outlier. They are riding hot since then, right? So kind of looking at what Indy 11, how are they going to come to the table? How are they going to get it done? Well, we're actually kind of taking a look of, there is something that is playing in Rising's favor is they've had guys who have played a lot of minutes, okay? So you're looking at, what is it? Thank you for Statlacker Reese for putting this together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 players have played at least 90 minutes in one of their last 2 matches. Again, they played at Hartford this past weekend, and of course, the Detroit match in the Open Cup, right? They've had 9 guys who have played at least 90 minutes in one of those matches, multiple guys who have played 90 minutes in both of their matches. But here's the thing, and this is actually pretty crafty from Indy 11. 3 guys who have been crushing it for them, they've actually rested them relatively well within those last 2 matches, right? First off, Augustine Williams is their leading goal scorer, got 5 goals on the season. XG pretty much backs that up, right? Tied for the team lead in goal score. But right, he's a guy who's a threatener. And here's the thing. In those 2 matches against Hartford and Detroit, 64 minutes played against Hartford, 75 minutes played against Detroit. Listen, it racks up. It's not full 90s, but being able to even give him rest here and there, it helps, okay? You got Sebastian Guenzati. Again, also a guy who has been rested. We've seen him on the USL stage being able to perform, right? Kind of get into the mix with that creative attacking play. Similar numbers, 64 minutes played against Hartford, 66 minutes played against Detroit. Okay, it's going to be interesting how they balance, how they kind of balance that attack and everything like that. Leading chance creator, Aiden Stanley, 24 chances created, 6 assists. They also have Cam Lindley, 17 chances created. Again, both of those guys played relatively high minutes in their last 2 matches. Both of those guys actually played the 180 out of 180 possible minutes within those last 2 matches combined. So again, right, is that going to be a factor? Indy maybe going to be a little bit tired, right? They do have the home field advantage, as they say. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out, but could be something to look for. Could not be, right? In 11, it's just going to be interesting how they approach this, knowing that Rising has also had the midweek game to look forward to. But, right, Rising out of the Open Cup, Indy not going to be playing one for a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be just interesting how you kind of approach that one. Seeing a lot of people are kind of sounding off with some bad stuff in the chat. We're not going to start the Max buying beers. It's not a thing. Again, Owen doubling down and concurring with me, being right. I appreciate that, Owen's very kind of you. Definitely not out of context. What a great guy, Owen Evans, agreeing with me. But yeah, we don't have to put that out. We don't have to put that up, David. Let's see. Yes, I enter the chat only if we score 3 goals in the second half. Let's mute Owen. Let's pipe it down. No. Stop putting Owen's chat further on the screen.
When you're ready to say cheers, don't forget Max is buying beers.
I think the worst part is I think the chat was queuing you up for that. And I don't know if either it wasn't loading the system or maybe you didn't know where it is. So there you go. The chat is vindified. Okay, no, CWP, it's already happened. No. Okay, let's swiftly move on from this whole Max is buying or not buying certain beverages and give me a score. No, Owens, no, damn it, no, Owen, no. Let's give me your score predictions, right? Again, Rising coming off a disappointing loss, hoping to motivate them, going up a very game Indy 11 team. Again, if you're able to draw the ones on the road, win the ones at home, that is a good recipe for success. I think Rising, it's possible they can get a win. I mean, it's also very possible they just continues their thing going on. Indy's coming off of a massive, massive winning streak. Again, the unbeaten streak. I don't think they lose here. And realistically, they should be winning. But I'm going to go a 1-1 match, right? Give me a draw. A 1-1 draw. Nothing too crazy. I honestly, in a way, and maybe it's just recency bias, this kind of gives me vibes of Detroit City of, hey, 2 teams who have been playing a lot of minutes, who are coming off different varying degrees of success at the Open Cup. But right, that's kind of what this strikes me as. Again, Indy riding an absolute scorching hot form, but a 1-1 draw in this instance is just absolutely phenomenal. Take that, right? 1-0, Silas says, with Rising winning, Panos scoring. In the chat, 3-1 to Indy. Again, I can totally see Indy winning if you're purely going off of their form. Why would they be losing? But, streaks, in theory, have to come to an end at some point. So again, Owen in the chat, 3-1 Indy. Chat, keep on giving me your score predictions. Damon in the chat. David, I'm not in the chat. Mr. David behind the Mac, can I get your score prediction as you are panicking probably to fumble on screen or maybe do a little voiceover? We'll stall for Damon. Oh,
what's up?
Hey, dude, can I get
you?
You
hear me all right?
Yo, I can hear you great, man. Yeah, throw it on the spot. Can I? What the? Oh my gosh, what is that? A colorful mic.
Oh, it changes colors. You don't like that?
No, I love it. Can I get one? It probably sounds better than I do right now.
I mean, I think it sounds all right. Yesterday on yesterday's post-game show for the Diamondbacks game, I realized I was speaking out of my AirPod microphone, and I had my mic on the entire time yesterday.
That's unfortunate. It did sound quite a little bit echoey, but again, this is the pot calling the kettle black right now, so who am I to say anything? But yeah, man, do you have a score prediction for us?
Yeah, I'll go 2-0 Indy.
Okay. Even though that's what they say is the most dangerous score,
It's true. Don't let Rising get one. You know what they say.
Don't let Rising get one. Okay. All right. Well, 2-0 to Indy. Thank you, Damon Dog. CWP in the chat. 2-1 to Indy. Okay. Got you. There we go. Okay. Keep that comment, chat. It's gonna be interesting to see how Rising approaches Andrew. Okay. See Andrew here. He's kind of opened up a barn burner in this one. 3-2. I don't know who you have winning. Yeah, Andrew, get us in the chat on who you got winning with that 3-2 score line, but you like goals. If we're kind of looking at Indy 11's form really over this season, the goal differential for being in fourth place, it's actually not, it's kind of standard, right? 21 goals scored, 19 goals against. If you're doing the math and at home, that's a +2 goal differential. And it's a relatively on par with the XG, 17 goals for XG to about 12.5. XG goals against. It is a +5 XG goal differential, meaning maybe they've been a little bit unlucky for where they've been trending. But hey, again, Indy 11, the type of matches that they've been reeling off, they actually have been scoring goals. Here's the combined goals of all competitions in order from their yesterday's match against Detroit, kind of going back, right? 3 combined goals in their match against Detroit, 5 combined goals in their match against Hartford, 4 combined goals in their match against Miami, 2 goals combined in their match against San Antonio, only 1 in a victory against Monterey Bay, and then 3 goals combined in their USL Championship victory against North Carolina. So, right, this team could score. Me saying it's a 1-1, maybe that's kind of balking the trend of what we actually might think happened. But the 3-2, that could be actually a more realistic scoreline. They like to score goals, right? Max, where should I go for dinner? Oh man, in Chicago. Wow, you're eating dinner late, my friend. That's 8:40. It's kind of a late dinner, but hey, yes, I actually let me text you, because I need to look it up. Also, of course, no free ads. But yeah, let me find that, and I'll send it to you shortly, because we're gonna be motoring through this one. So yes, anyone, if you have suggestions in the chat, DM Owen. No free ads in the chat. You know how it'd be. But yeah, what I will tell you is a great place, to eat, kind of enjoy yourself. It's our friends at Valley Taproom. Valley Taproom, right? They have some nice little finger food, nice little place to enjoy beer. Right, get some Four Peaks beer there, get some wine slushies, all that good stuff. Right, you can check out Valley Taproom. It's a nice little place to unwind. You can bring in food, right? Kind of enjoy their 2 locations in Gilbert and Queen Creek. Check them out. Of course, check them out on socials at Valley Taproom. They got cool merch. They have just a nice little place to go, trivia, all of that stuff. Good place to watch USL, or oh my gosh, Phoenix Rising play Indy 11 in the USL Championship this Saturday, right? They got 2 locations for you East Ciders. Check them out on socials at Valley Taproom and online at valleytaproom.com. You're not coaxing a free ad out of me, Mr. Owen Levens. Of course, I passed the test. I'm a professional here. This is a professional podcast, to quote Cy Lee. That's what we do. And of course, I will give out an ad because we love them. Our friends at Four Peaks. Friends of Four Peaks, again, they have at a Valley Taproom. They have them at their Four Peaks 8th Street pub. They have them everywhere. They probably even have them in Chicago. I think I've had a Four Peaks in Chicago. But right, Four Peaks, it is Arizona's brand. It's just growing. It's continuing to grow and do their thing. They have the Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale for just the absolute deliciousness, for all the good stuff going on. Check them out at fourpeaks.com. Of course, on socials at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest and greatest going on in Arizona's hometown brewery. Again, you, of course, must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Again, shout out our friends at Four Peaks. We love them. Have a little beer. No PHNX Sports. Damon, stop it in the chat. I'm not buying those things. But yeah, let's see. Andrew in the chat. Owen telling the Chicago people that Phoenix worthy of MLS. Oh boy, that's a can of worms. Let's go through some of the recent Open Cup matches again from this past round. And you know what, guys? I'm going to even give you a little bit of the Owen. Oh gosh, I can't say that because that's a free ad. I'm going to give you the Owen that phone operating systems voice name processor, whatever. All right, here we go. Charleston Battery 0, Atlanta 0. Atlanta through on penalties. Indy 3, Detroit 0. LAFC 3, Loudoun United 0. NYCFC 2-0 0. New Mexico 3. Sporting Kansas City 4, Tulsa 0. Sorry, I'm being distracted. Samantha, can I help you? No, you're distracting me from the pod, lady. Okay, yeah, go. Yeah, don't pop on screen now. Tampa Bay Rowdies 1, FC Dallas 2, Sacramento Republic 4, San Jose Earthquakes 3. And the Seattle Sounders 2, Phoenix Rising 1. Okay, we got through that. So next Open Cup matches. We're on to the quarters. We got a quarter to spare. You have 25 cents. Boom. All right, here we go. On July 10th, we got all these 4 teams playing. We got Atlanta United facing off against Indy 11, again, Rising's challenger this coming weekend. You got LAFC facing off against the dreaded New Mexico United. Okay, we got Sporting KC against FC Dallas. And then you got Sacramento Republic against Seattle Sounders. If you are doing the counting at home, folks, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 MLS teams left. Three USL teams left. Could have been Phoenix Rising making it even 4-4. Alas, that's where we are. Hate to see it. There we go. Oh gosh, Sam, everyone in the chat is asking for you. Like, I'm talking literally everyone. Oh my gosh, we're saying Max, be nice to Sam in all caps. We're saying get Sam on the pod. Hi, Sam. Be nice to Sam. Show Sam. Sam over Max. Hi, Sam. Sam score. Sam, what's your score prediction? Oh my gosh, give people 2 numbers. Phoenix Rising, Indy 11. Who's winning? What's the score? 2-1. Who's winning? Phoenix Rising, 2-1. Hey, do you want to come on the pod real quick? People want to see you. You don't want to talk? What? You want to just say hi? Okay. People are like shouting you out. Like they really want to see you. They're kind of rioting. Oh, they say you. Oh, she looks like a mess. You just came from the gym. That's cool. Okay, yeah, that's cool. She's holding Gilly, who made an appearance on the pod earlier. Yeah, she made an appearance on the pod. Whoa! Oh! Hey! Oh boy, she's already better than Max. I don't know if that's the cat or you, but that's unfortunate. Appreciate it, chat. All right, you guys are something. There you go. Boom. Yeah, you're on mute, Damon. I can't hear you.
Are you standing?
What's that?
Are you doing this podcast standing?
Oh, dude, you know me. I work my standing desk, of course.
You're standing and you're just huddled over that's crazy.
I wouldn't say huddled. I would say,
it's like a worm's eye view from you standing. It's wild.
The fact that it took you this long to realize, that just shows how efficient it is. Pretty smooth, if I don't say so.
I guess so.
Boom. Let's go. Let's LFG. Let's go CWP. All right, guys. We're going to get out of here pretty shortly. Again, appreciate everyone joining us. I did want to open this up, right? And again, it's kind of a palate cleanser episode. I did want to open this up to our diehards, right? We popped up in Discord, kind of ask a couple questions of, hey, people, what kind of questions do you have throughout the season? Just kind of some fun stuff that you have throughout the season. So we have 2 questions here on the graphic that were asked again from our diehards in our Discord channel. Again, if you want to become a diehard, get your questions on screen and all types of fun stuff. Check them out. Go to phnxlocker.com, become a diehard today, and you get free merch. You get discounts on our events, all of that great stuff. Again, also the perks. We sometimes do these random episodes where, boom, going to do a little mailbag. What's a mailbag? A mailbag impromptu. There we go. So, again, David, if you don't mind popping up one of the questions on screen. Rebread, what position group do y'all think we can improve in the summer? What do you guys actually think about Danny's job through the first third of the year? What bench players would you guys give a bigger role heading into the dog days of the USL season? Okay, I love it. And there's a lot of questions there. So we're going to break down one by one. Keep that on here. So what position group do y'all think we can improve in the summer? I mean, I think the one that comes to mind for everyone, and I think where we have not only the least amount of depth as a true replacement, but really one where you just want to be able to work in guys given, hey, injuries of whatever. It's the attack. And more specifically, it's going to be that number 9 position. Again, Remy Cabral, he has been awesome. But again, he's a guy he's a loanee. You don't want to fall in love with a loanee player because that's kind of the old adage is you're not always able to do that just because there's a very real chance that he can get recalled and everything like that. So that's the big one to improve in the summer. Again, asking what do you guys actually think about Danny's job throughout the first third of the year? Again, I always try to lead with like grace in the sense of it's been tough. Like, it's been tough in some of the results, tough in some of the buildup. I think that he hasn't had the most, the best loaded tack that he can be working with again. And this was even whether Juan was coming back or anything like that. You're working with two of the top 5 scorers in the league no longer on your team. Like, we've been saying that so many times, and that's just a fact of like, no matter who was going to be in that position, it's going to be tough. It was always going to be tough. So, I do give a little bit of leeway there. He was working in, bringing in a defense who was kind of chopped and changed with injuries, guys getting back to fitness. I think he finally has kind of settled on, hey, here's the back line that he likes. Rocco's already solidified. He has a pretty consistent view of who he wants to have in the midfield. And I think just that attack, not only from those winger positions, but also, kind of what is that depth at number 9? I think given that, that's the thing that he definitely needs to improve. But also, I think that's going to come from the recruitment end. So, all that being said, what do I think about Danny's job and what he's done through the first third of the year? If I'm going to give it, I don't know, if I'm going to give it a grade, I'd say like a B. And maybe some people might think that's realistic, but I think just kind of where this team is at, where it's kind of come into form recently, I think that's pretty solid, right? He was appointed very late within the kind of off season, and knowing what he's have to work with, I think he's done a solid job, and the uptick in form has been good. Now, that being said, this is kind of the difference of, hey, if some of those draws or whatever maybe become losses, if they maybe weren't slowly climbing up the table, this could be a very different kind of talk, right? This team has won a championship last year. They have that championship pedigree. It comes with championship expectations, and that's just tough, right? It's a tough thing to live up to. And I think while you're giving him grace and, hey, maybe some people think B is too low, some think it's too high. If it continues on, in a similar form, it's like, okay, as it goes out through the season, you want to keep demanding higher. And the people might say, hey, Rising got in and boom, made some noise as the 6th seed in the playoffs. But I think it's also just in the way that they were doing it. You want to be able to watch your beautiful soccer, scoring goals and everything like that. They need to keep putting more in the back of the net. We will see if they could do that. And that leads into what bench players would you guys give a bigger role heading into the dog days of the USL season? I think it was Brett earlier. Shout out Pat, my boy. I've really liked him. I get it's kind of defense is maybe going to be one of those where you don't tinker with quite as much unless there's an injury or dip in form. And I think given the 3 guys who have been there, it's pretty solid. Right again, Lawrence White also working in there as well. He's had some decent performances for sure. I think I'm not as concerned of that or giving more guys leeway. I think where I'm really going to be curious about it is on the winger play. You have a lot of guys who can absolutely do a job. Who are going to be your starting 2 if you continue to play that formation with 3 out center backs in the back, right? Are you going to roll with Gabby Torres? You're going to roll with Power Rito. There you go. Or are you going to work with Juan Carlos Azacar, right? I mean, even throwing in a Gallardo or something in there, right? There's a lot of guys who you can work within. Who is it going to end up being within those positions? I think that's something that's going to be really interesting, knowing that, in this system, the way that they play, they do a lot of running. You got to be able to put in a shift. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be always the same 2 guys. I think given, again, the way that the position is, you got to be able to work in and, kind of have a nice kind of range. So there you go. As another chat. Yes, Power Rito. Appreciate that. I think that answers all of the questions from Rebred. And then producer Damon Dog, if you don't mind pulling up the next one from Albert, my guy. How have your expectations changed for the club from the start of the season, if at all? Man, that's a good one. Okay. This is, again, kind of goes back to a loaded question of what are you kind of, how do you kind of base your expectations? Is it within the vacuum, or is it based off of the fact that Phoenix Rising won a championship last season and you want to repeat? If you are going off of Phoenix Rising won a championship and you want them to repeat, I would say my expectations have changed in the sense of it's very hard to repeat. I think Phoenix Rising was always going to have a target on their back, and maybe not as much has changed in that. I think it was always going to be a very difficult season. You then factor in further, again, losing a lot of guys who were key contributors for this season, and also haven't even mentioned Carlos Harvey of that might even, I'm not going to say that's more of a loss than Danny Trejo and Manuel Arteaga, but you could make that claim. You very well could make that claim, although I think the midfield has stepped up pretty nicely in recent matches. So I think given the changes and everything like that, I think I was optimistic but weary going into this season of, I think you hope that, hey, championship pedigree, you return a lot of the guys, would bolster this team. I think it's relatively played out how I think a lot of us expected. A lot of low scoring games for the most part. The defense has been solid. Rocco has been solid, but the upfront is always going to be the one where you're trying to figure it out. And it's not going to be easy, but that's going to be the biggest adjustment for sure. It continues to be that biggest adjustment. So I don't think they've changed massively. I think honestly, this is going to be a curious conversation of like asking this question 2 months from now of, hey, still working through the table, is not won or lost within May, but it certainly starts shaping up more of like hit July and August. So that's going to be more of a question than that. But and then, yeah, Brett, going back to it, so many of these winger calls are matchup based, I think. Absolutely. Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. Always I don't know if it's kind words, but you guys are active. So I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone joining us here on a little bit of palate cleanser from the PHNX Rising podcast. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at PHNX__rising, because double the underscore. Oh, good. Owen's not here to say something dumb. Unless anyone in the chat has anything, I'll go double the underscore, double the rebound. Go get your rebound. Go get your rebound. Of course, you can follow us. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJ Evans18. You can follow Damon Dog on Twitter at Damon DAWG. Of course, also shout out Wrexham, where it's also a PHNX Wrexham podcast. Here you go. Again, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Again, we will read them. We have not gotten one since last week, I believe. I just checked. So unless my eyeballs are deceiving me, please go leave a 5-star review. Drop a little comment in that review, and we will read it live on the pod. Of course, also shout out producer Franklin. You can follow at Jacob Franklin somewhere. One of these social platforms on maybe next door. Go yell at him. Oh gosh, no, darn, it's a free ad. Yeah, whatever. I already said it. Here we go. Everyone, I appreciate it. It's a beautiful game, but it's way. One thing. We will be back, of course, Saturday. Post game after Indy 11, all that stuff. Owen gets his arse, in gear with getting post game comments and all that stuff. He'll be fuming at that one. But hey, it's a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when Max goes rogue on a podcast. Later, y'all.
We all silly like the mayor.